Without a doubt, Family Guy is a weird show.
Almost done. And there. Done.
What have you done?
I painted the truth.
Somehow, some of the people in the show had the weirder relationship. So today, we are breaking down the weirdest relationships in Family Guy. Let's start the show. Wanting a taste of married life, Stewie takes inspiration from a wedding and decides to settle down himself. What begins as a sweet idea quickly turns into a strange experiment that shows Stewie loves marriage for all the wrong reasons. Season 19, Episode 14. The adventure starts when Peter and the group attend Mort and Rachel's wedding in New Orleans. The ceremony is surprisingly emotional. While everyone else enjoys the trip, Stewie is deeply moved. For the first time, he sees marriage as something beautiful and meaningful.
Yes, I had no idea marriage could be that beautiful. There really is somebody for everybody.
Once the family returns home, Stewie acts fast. A large package arrives, revealing Zlata, a mail-order bride from Ukraine.
I'm Stewie. I'm going to be your husband.
Zlata.
We're such each other's forever people.
Brian immediately calls the idea insane, but Stewie sees it as perfect. He wants the structure of marriage, and she wants a new life in America.
She wanted to leave, I had $200. Boom, we're each other's forever people.
The newly married couple quickly settle into routine life. Stewie gets a job at a car rental place, spending his days cleaning messes and dealing with customers.
Hey, I accidentally barfed in my car. They told me I could leave it here.
Yeah, I'll clean it.
The boring grind slowly drains him, but Stewie oddly takes pride in it. To him, this is what being a husband is all about. At home, things are less comfortable. Zlata wants intimacy, but Stewie keeps avoiding it, choosing television and wine instead.
We watch show later.
And we sleep when? There's just only so many hours in the day, you know?
The tension grows, making it clear Stewie loves the idea of marriage more than the actual relationship. One night, Brian stops by while Stewie is still at work. Zlata pulls Brian inside, flattering his ego and asking about his writing. When Stewie finally comes home, he finds them together and feels completely betrayed.
Hey, Stewie. Ryan? What the hell? That's my wife, man! Get off her!
Brian argues that Stewie and Zlata were never truly together, but Stewie is hurt. Still, instead of ending the marriage, Stewie proposes a bizarre solution. Brian can handle the physical side of the relationship, while Stewie focuses on the domestic duties he enjoys.
I want you to sleep with my wife again.
What? I'm a little confused.
Look, together, we're kind of the perfect husband.
Before anything can truly settle, Zlata disappears, leaving behind only packed boxes. Stewie brushes it off, but the situation ends as abruptly as it began. In the end, Stewie learns that marriage is more than routines and responsibilities, even if he never fully admits it. Lois Griffin, craving attention, takes center stage in this episode, turning a sweet anniversary into something deeply uncomfortable. What begins as an innocent accident slowly spirals into ego, temptation, and choices that push her marriage to the edge. Season 21, Episode 3. Peter and Lois celebrate their anniversary. Carter marks the occasion by gifting them a brand new car. It is expensive, impractical, and very on-brand for him. Lois tries to be grateful, even if the gift clearly misses the point.
It's the thought that counts, Daddy, and it was a very nice thought.
$20 bill cupped in a handshake?
Lois heads to the bathroom to change, unaware that Joe accidentally comes in. The moment is awkward, embarrassing, and short-lived, but it has unexpected consequences. Joe leaves flustered.
I'm sorry, I'm leaving!
I feel more violated.
Bonnie cannot wait to tell Lois about it. Instead of brushing it off, Lois becomes fixated on the idea that she caused it. She convinces herself that Joe regained confidence because of her, and that belief quickly feeds her ego.
Oh no, what am I gonna do? I bet Joe was only able to do it because he was thinking of me.
Soon, Lois notices Joe watching her from across the street. Instead of shutting it down, she leans into it. Simple chores turn into performances, and every glance reinforces her need to feel desired. What starts as validation turns into routine.
Lois Griffin, you are adding spice to that marriage. Wow, look at me, making a difference for those in need.
Peter completely misses what is happening, but Quagmire does not. Even he finds the situation uncomfortable and decides Peter needs to know. Peter confronts Joe first, then Lois, and the argument escalates fast.
Oh, hey, Peter. What are you clenching in that fist there?
Lois defends herself by claiming she was helping Joe, but Peter sees it for what it is. The fight ends with threats of divorce, yet Lois still does not stop. She takes things further by showing up at Joe's front door, heels on and intentions clear. Joe finally shuts it down, thanking her but choosing his marriage and Peter friendship. That rejection pushes Lois over the edge.
And if I could do it for Joe, I can do it for a whole hospital wing of disabled veterans.
In Season 12, Episode 14, Chris tries to spend some quality time with Peter, but Peter would rather watch TV than go fishing with his son. Chris ends up turning to Carter instead, who is stuck in bed and needs help with everything. Chris handles it without complaining, and Carter actually starts to enjoy having him around.
God, I wish there was a way I could just do it myself.
Let me show you something.
That was amazing!
Carter is so grateful that he decides to reward Chris. First, he tries offering money, but Chris politely refuses. That makes Carter respect him even more, so he makes a bigger decision. He changes his will and names Chris as the sole heir to the entire family fortune.
I have decided to change my will and name my grandson Chris the sole heir to the Pewterschmidt fortune.
When Peter hears this, he immediately wants in. He tries bonding with Chris through hot dogs and video games, but he gets tired of pretending to care. Then he gets an idea that only Peter would think is reasonable. If he marries Chris, he can get a legal share of the inheritance. Peter proposes to Chris. Chris is confused, but he says yes because he thinks this means they will finally spend more time together. So the two of them go to Vermont, where the wedding is legal, and Peter gets ready to become Chris' husband so he can live off the future money.
Why do we have all these appointments? Wedding DJ, florist?
Because, Chris, it takes time to plan a perfect wedding.
Right before the ceremony starts, Lois bursts into the room. She tells Chris that he is being manipulated and tells Peter he should be ashamed. Chris hesitates for a moment, torn between wanting approval from his dad and knowing how wrong this looks.
And if being married means I get to spend even more time with my dad, then it's worth it.
When Peter sees how hurt Chris is, the whole thing finally hits him. He realizes the only reason Chris agreed was because he wanted his father's attention. Peter lets go of the plan and tells Chris he does not want to marry him. He wants to actually be his dad. In Season 9, Episode 12, Meg thinks she is just helping out while Bonnie is away, but the moment she steps into Joe's house, something shifts. One harmless favor slowly turns into a full obsession that pushes her way past the line. Bonnie heads out of town and asks Lois to check on Joe and Susie. Lois passes the job to Meg, who refuses at first, until Bonnie compliments her looks, which instantly changes her mind.
She kind of took the baton from there and said Meg Griffin.
Who's Rachel Maddow?
A model.
Okay, I'll do it.
Meg shows up and catches Joe practicing tough cop lines on a doll. Joe asks if Meg has experience caring for someone with special needs, and she mentions taking care of a lady who just rolled over wrong. Meg helps around the house, but ends up missing the bus. Joe offers her a ride, and she is shocked. He is not embarrassed to be seen with her.
But before we go, I gotta make a stool. Sometimes it needs a little coaxing, though.
Meg warms up to Joe fast, and even tells a kid at school that Joe is her boyfriend as a joke, but she likes how it sounds.
Well, I'm happy for Meg.
Why? Because she finally has somebody?
No, because she finally has some lines.
Soon, she shows up early to cook breakfast, wearing a more flirty outfit, and casually calls him Joe, which catches him off guard.
You just called me Joe. It's kinda weird. But I'll just let it slide. She's got nothing going on.
Meg starts pushing boundaries by wearing Bonnie's clothes and acting like she belongs in the house. When Bonnie calls to say she is flying home, Meg panics. She steals Joe's gun, drives all the way to Maine, and plants it in Bonnie's luggage to get her detained.
Ma'am, this bag contains a concealed weapon. I'm gonna have to place you under arrest.
Oh my goodness, how did that get in there?
Meg fully snaps and begins acting like she is Joe's wife, even talking about their romantic life, which Joe knows is not real. When Susie cries, Meg even tries to breastfeed her, which finally makes Joe panic. He turns to Peter and Lois for help.
And I don't really know how to break it to you, so I'm just gonna come right out and say it. Meg has a crush on him.
Lois confronts Meg, but she refuses to let go until she tries to throw herself in front of Joe's car to prove they belong together. Joe finally reaches her and explains she crossed a dangerous line. Meg snaps back to reality and apologizes. Joe forgives her and says he is glad to have her as a neighbor. Meg accepts it, even though the whole thing nearly turned into a nightmare. Season 17, Episode 1 looks innocent at first, almost sweet, until you realize it contains one of Brian's coldest moments ever. This is the episode where he meets Jess, falls in love, gets married, and then watches her choke without lifting a finger. If there was ever a moment that proved this dog should not be allowed near humans, this is the one. Brian meets Jess at the Drunken Clam, and for the first time in years, he actually finds someone who agrees with him. Same opinions, same attitude, same energy. It is like Brian finally met a human version of himself, and naturally, he falls head over paws.
And hey, sorry I barked when you took your pants off. I thought it was a squirrel.
Jess tells him she has non-Hodgkin lymphoma, but Brian does not care. In fact, it seems to make him even more attached. Like he sees a countdown and wants to be the star of her final chapter. The two begin a whirlwind romance, crossing off wild bucket list items and traumatizing every passerby, unfortunate enough to witness it. They sleep together everywhere, from beaches to theater stages. And Brian treats the whole thing like it is some indie movie montage built around his ego. Then the doctor hits them with devastating news. Jess has about 2 weeks left to live. Brian responds by proposing on the spot, and the whole thing gets framed like he is the most selfless man on Earth. He even gets news coverage about his bravery and devotion. He milks every second of attention like it is warm milk in a bowl. It is supposed to be heartwarming, but you can already feel the cracks starting.
You're a good guy.
Thank you, Quagmire.
Listen, I want to throw you the wildest bachelor party of all time.
Their wedding happens fast, and everybody treats Brian like a hero. But then, right after the ceremony, the doctor runs in with new test results. Jess is going to live. The cancer is gone. She has her whole life ahead of her again. And Brian looks like someone just canceled his Netflix subscription. Instead of being relieved, he immediately gets the ick. Jess starts eating again, gaining weight, laughing, joking, living normally, and Brian is miserable. Her mother moves in to help her recover, and Brian wants out even more. He tells Stewie he cannot stay married and needs to escape, but knows he will look like a monster. Then comes the moment that earns Brian a lifetime jail sentence in spirit.
You look like a baby doll found in hurricane rubble.
Aw, I'm your baby doll.
Jess starts choking at dinner. Not joking. Not dramatic choking. Real choking. She cannot breathe, and Brian freezes. Instead of helping, he panics, grabs his phone, and tries to search a how-to Heimlich tutorial. He scrolls, he taps, he panics more. Stewie begs him to move. Brian does nothing. He just watches. Jess collapses and dies right in front of him. He could have saved her by standing up and doing literally anything, but he did nothing. He goes to the funeral, stands over her coffin, and gives a speech about wishing he had more time with her. And then, in classic Family Guy fashion, Jess suddenly wakes up, alive again. This episode says it all. No gun, no trip to France, no big setup. Just Brian being Brian. And somehow, that is worse.